One of the biggest problems we see when we take on clients who are running ads on Meta, but they want to also run YouTube ads to scale their e-commerce brand, is compliance around demand gen ads. The type of ads that you usually run on Meta, especially the brands that we work with who are a bit more cold traffic focused, direct response focused, and a bit more, not necessarily grey hat, but they definitely do push the boundaries in terms of the claims that they make within their ads, is that they get hit for unreliable claims or any policy restrictions which happen on Google. So what I'm going to cover in this video is exactly how to remain compliant on YouTube ads when you're scaling your e-commerce brand while still adhering to direct response best practices. Because what you don't want is to nuke your ads in such a way where you don't get any conversions at all because the ad isn't actually good. But you still want to be able to run the ad because YouTube ads is going to be your best scaler when it comes to Google top of funnel traffic. And any ad is better than no ad. But of course, if you're spending money on an ad which was never going to convert in the first place because the claims that you're making are weak and it isn't actually a good ad, it's just going to be skipped, or you're going to get the worst kind of clicks in targeting. So this video is going to cover exactly how to make the best YouTube ads which are still compliant for your e-commerce brand. And the goal here really is to blend compelling direct response marketing with strict adherence to Google's ad policies, because you never want to sacrifice compliance for a short-term win. This can lead to ad disapprovals, account suspensions, or even a permanent ban if you keep trying to test Google's waters. The compliance team, their external workforce, they're like literal NPCs who follow the letter of the law in terms of policy. And unless you have a senior Google rep or a VP inside of Google which takes it to the policy team and says, hey, look, we can spend $5K a day on this ad. Do you want an extra $1 million a year in ad spend directly to that account? Unless you really put it in those terms, then the policy team isn't even going to look at it, isn't even going to give you the light of day, and just completely get rid of your ad. Your best ads will skirt along this line, so you want to follow everything in this video so you can get the most compliant ads. And again, if you want us to run your ads for you and consult on you specifically in terms of the brands that you have, the right ads for YouTube ads to be able to scale you to 1K, 5K, 10K per day on YouTube ads profitably, then click the first link in the description, work with us at Demand Capture, where we'll be able to partner with you, and we'll see if you're a good fit for working with us in terms of where your brand is, where you want it to go, and how to scale cold traffic on Google Ads. So phase one is the pre-launch strategy and compliance foundation. And this is the most critical phase because getting this wrong means that everything else will fail. The first thing you want to do is define your core offer. So what is the specific deal that you're running with your ads? You can't just run a YouTube ad straight to your product unless it's a really fiery product. What offer are you running? Is it buy two, get one free? Is it 25% off your first order? The strong offer is paramount for getting people off of YouTube from an education and entertainment state all the way to your funnel. YouTube in and of itself is one of the more addicting platforms when it comes to advertising. So you need to have a much more compelling offer to get people off Shorts, which again is super addicting, or off YouTube, which is an interruption of the original video that they were going to be watching, to go on your ad and then click on your funnel and then buy from you. The second thing is to deeply understand your audience's compliant pain points. You may be selling a product which deals with people's chronic pain, but you want to word that in a way which is a lot more compliant. So you're talking to the situation that they find themselves in, not necessarily diagnosing the actual thing that they are talking about. Instead of chronic pain, it can be discomfort after a long day. Instead of obesity, of you being fat, which is like struggling to manage your weight. You want to frame the problem in a way that doesn't promise a cure so that you can speak to the problem without attacking them or the problem itself, and then making a claim that your product is the cure to that problem that they're facing. Lastly, you just want to review all of Google's ad policies. What you can do is that you can also plug these into your ad scripting AI, and you can have it copy chief it and take this SOP. You can get a copy to this SOP as well. Just put in your email, I'll send it to you right away, where you can plug this SOP into your ads, have it copy chief it, and it will tell you and turn all of your unreliable claims into things that you can run on YouTube while still being compliant, direct response, and effective, being highly converting to where you can scale to over 3K a day in ad spend. Another example of this is that you want to understand the difference between a structure and function claim, which is allowed, and a disease claim, which is not allowed. So what is allowed is that it supports healthy immune function, and not allowed is attacking the specific problem that they're facing themselves. So prevents the flu, cures cold, that type of stuff. Another part of this phase is auditing your landing page. Your landing page, even if your ad is compliant, your landing page also needs to be compliant and congruent with your ad. You want to add an FDA disclaimer always if your product falls into that category. You want to add a results not typical disclaimer. If you're using testimonials, you must include a disclaimer like this. You want to avoid prohibited language. For example, if you sell like a headache supplement, there may be proper medications which people might be trying before they got to your product. If they mention them in the reviews, or if you mention them in the enemy that you're casting stones against, you want to get rid of any unrealistic guarantees or misleading before and after images, you still want to run these, but you just want to make sure that they're compliant to where if an external workforce person from Malaysia or India looks at it, then, and it's against their checklist and they're just going to get rid of it, you want to get rid of that. You want to make sure that it's compliant as possible. And then lastly is trust signals. You want to include any third-party lab results, GMP seals, and clear contact information for this. This is also be important for any of your merchant center stuff as well, but still important when it comes to YouTube ads for your brand. So once you've got the foundations covered, you're going to need to actually move into the ad itself. You want to be testing as many compliant hooks as possible to find how far you can scale up to the line, but also still be something which is hook worthy. So instead of calling out the particular problem that your product solves, you want to call out the situation that that person is in, that your ideal customer is in. But you can call out your audience if you're over 40 and find yourself getting tired in the afternoon. Very generic, very broad, but we'll have an ad which is going to be able to capture the wider market of your audience. So this might actually work out better for you than going specific to the problem itself. You want to ask a relatable question. Do you ever feel that post-lunch slump that just kills your productivity? Play around with this as well. There's also statistics that you can use which are verifiable as long as you refer them in the ad itself. So if someone human is reviewing your ad, they're able to look up that stat and it's prominent within the ad itself. So that's not an unreliable claim. As you may be noticing within the creative itself, you want to keep compliant with the actual pain point. So for example, that feeling of stiffness when you get out of bed in the morning can really set a negative tone on the day. It makes simple things like playing with your kids or going for a walk feel like a chore. You're talking around the actual specific call out of the problem that you're solving, so you don't associate the product with the actual claim of resolving this. But you're saying you're in this current state, we can get you to this other state by this product, but we're not actively directly calling out the problem that you're facing itself. And when you're coming to the solution and you're introducing the solution to their problem, you want to frame it as a support tool. That's why we developed this. It's formulated with this and this, which have been studied for their role in supporting X, Y, and Z, or helping or aiding in the benefit of this. And of course, with all YouTube ads, you want to lead with the offer in terms of the CTA. Don't just be like, click now to get this product or to solve this situation. You want to actually have an offer and a reason to buy now. You can also add YouTube specific CTA. So you want to basically meet them where they're at. It's like this is specific for people who are seeing this on YouTube. We found that to work really well as a CTA. And we just add that at the end of the winning Meta ads. Even though on Meta, if you have that type of brand, stuff like doctor's coats, stethoscopes, imagery that implies medical endorsements, you want to avoid this as much as possible. Google doesn't play around with any black hat type of use of authority figures. If you have an authority figure, you need to show the agreement that you have if Google does flag it. We've had problems before where people have had agreements with different authority figures in their space and they've used their likeness, but then it gets reported, the external workforce doesn't see the internal documents and they don't even ask. You need to be upfront with your Google rep if you do have one. If you don't have one, then just wait until your ad gets done. You need to then submit that and make sure you have that ready. So that's all you need to include within the ad to stay compliant. The core principle around avoiding clickbait and unreliable claims is to sell the benefit, not the cure. So you want to focus on how the customer will feel and the lifestyle that they can support after they use your product, not the disease you will fix. So if you use stuff like cure, treat, heal, fix, reverse, eliminate, if you guarantee results or have like a miracle breakthrough, if you say lose 30 pounds in 30 days, before and after photos, which are super dramatic, or AI, if you use stuff like as seen on TV and secret ingredient, this is all going to be super clickbaity, especially in your creative, but also in your headlines and your text as well for demand gen. If you're calling out specific diseases as well, this is a massive red flag for Google where you're just going to get instantly hit with a disapproval. You want to use language like support, promote, maintain, help, aid, boost, formulated to assist, designed to help, supports. You want to use a lot more lifestyle imagery. So the before being, again, a poor lifestyle that they have, but the after being the positive lifestyle, which is the benefit of using your product. And you want to stick to describing the symptoms and the feelings that they have. So joint stiffness, blood sugar support, that type of stuff. And the golden rule is, could your claim be interpreted as a promise to treat, cure, or prevent a medical condition? If yes, then you need to rephrase it. And again, you can use AI to be able to do this within your added creative process. So just to finish off the video, here are 3 examples that you can use to turn from unreliable claims to compliant direct response ads. The first one is a weight management supplement. So the unreliable hook will be tired of stubborn belly fat. Our new Fat Melt X pill is scientific breakthrough that melts away 20 pounds in 3 weeks guaranteed. Stop dieting and just take 2 pills a day to eliminate fat cells forever. Now, you could probably run that on Meta and it would probably bang, but the problem is that it violates unrealistic claims. So in terms of melting away 20 pounds of fat in 3 weeks, it guarantees stuff. It uses disease adjacent language, and the dramatic before and after images will be a massive red flag for this too. So the compliant version of this will be, if you're over 30, does it feel like you're managing your weight is harder than it used to be, even if you're trying to eat right? This is much more of a more broader call out, which again could actually make your ad hit different segments of your ad inventory to be able to pull in new audiences. So you still want to be playing around with this anyway, but specific to YouTube, because of the vast amount of audience that you have access to, and because of the restrictions you have without compliant ads, you want to be making as broad of an ad as possible. And this is one of the ways to hit two birds with one stone. Talking about stuff like that sluggish feeling and the frustration of not seeing results can be discouraging. It's often linked with slowing metabolism as we age. That's why we created Metabolic Support. It's not a magic pill, but a powerful natural formula designed to support your body's natural metabolic process and aid in your existing diet and exercise routine. So you're seeing how that's much more compliant, that's much more talking around the problem, and it's much more of a safer way of being able to convey what your product does, still selling the same thing, but to a broader, more compliant market. So you're still adhering to direct response principles, and because you're talking in more broad terms, talking around the problem, talking about the person themselves, many more people might be able to see themselves more in that ad, therefore be able to click and actually purchase it. So this ad might actually even perform better on Meta and even on YouTube, because it can run on YouTube, than the more non-compliant ad, as it were. Another example is around brain health. So mentioning anything about brain fog, anything about concussions, we know this from our biggest case studies, is instantly going to get hit. If you're talking about ADHD symptoms or memory loss or cognition, like this stuff is just going to get hit immediately. If you want to talk about things like brain fog, which is going to be massive and still is massive nowadays, then you want to talk about, do you ever hit that 2 p.m. wall where your focus just disappears? You've done some things to do, but your brain feels like it's running in mud. Again, this type of language is actually going to print for you, because one, you're able to actually run on YouTube, but two, is able to go as broad as possible. And you also want to mix these in with your meta ads as well. Just one more example in terms of joint health. If you say arthritis, pain gone in 7 days, Joint Cure Plus is the miracle solution that rebuilds cartilage and permanently ends joint and muscle pain, of course it's going to be non-compliant. But if you ran a hook, for example, are those everyday aches and stiffnesses started to get in the way of your activities you truly love? Whether it's getting on the floor to play with your grandkids or enjoying a morning walk, you deserve to move with confidence and ease. You're seeing how there's also advertising in a more positive light. It's not like pretending that they're in a state of fear and really advertising from a place of fear. It's advertising from a place of aspiration as well. That's everything on compliant ads. If you want access to this document, then just click the second link in the description. I'll set up a page where you can enter in your email, and I'll email us to your inbox. What you're able to then do is copy this, paste it into your Claude or your ChatGPT, get it to copy chief it around this as well. Familiarize yourself with all of the different policies in terms of unreliable claims, healthcare, medicines policies when it comes to Google ads, and then you're better able to create ads which you can firstly run on Google and run on YouTube, but then they might actually perform better than your direct response stuff as well, because you're tapping into a broad amount of audience and you're framing it in a much more compliant way. That's what we do here at Demand Capture. If you want us to work with you specifically on your brand, tell you exactly how to do these creatives and write them for you, as well as do the media buying, scaling you to 1K a day, 3K a day, 5K a day for your e-commerce brand, whether it be through supplements, apparel, high ticket items, fashion, jewelry. We do everything now because our results have been so good. Then click the first link in the description, watch the VSL on there, watch our case studies, book in a call, we'll run an audit, and we'll see if you're a good fit to work with us. If you want more stuff in terms of how to run Google and YouTube ads for e-commerce brands in 2025, specifically around cold traffic, click this video on screen here. I'd go through a full case study of how we've applied all of these principles to make $500,000 in 31 days for one of our clients. I'll see you in that video.